On real quick for y'all. Yeah, 3 o'clock session. Hey, listen, all honesty, we missed the 12 o'clock, y'all. Apologize, but now you're going to get us for 3 o'clock. So we're going to turn it on and we're going to give you the video that played this morning for Mayhem Monday. Live, baby. Wins and losses Friday. DJ, this this week was riddled with wins and riddled with losses. All of them were spectacular. I know Kenneth is going to jump on because he's loving losses these days, man. It's one of those things, brother. You know what? I played the wrong one. You see that? We're just like Mayhem, driver centric, cheapers. Mayhem Monday. We were just talking about the mayhem that occurred at the Oscars last night. Holy Jesus. Holy bejeez. So Mayhem Monday, DJ. Yes, today we are going to pick the topic. I got all these different things that I'm clicking on over here, y'all. And I just want to make sure because we got like a setting for our replay and everything else like that. So Mayhem Monday, we're going to pick the topic live. Stay tuned. To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. All right. Oh, right. Lisa, who? So we have one at 58 seconds and one at 104. So Ryan beat Lisa this morning. Lisa, the streak's over. Good morning.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Jeff.
Awesome. Y'all, we were just talking backstage about the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing, and
I'm sure if you guys did not watch it like we did not last night, and a lot of people did not watch the Academy Awards, it's been holy cow!
It's all the talk today.
But, it is the talk this morning for sure.
Yeah. But Ryan, I'll send you a video because the video that DJ just sent me that I just saw, I'm like, I don't know if that's staged, but listen, it would be a good staging if they did do it, but I
don't think it was staged, but and since we're talking about it, I'm just gonna say I do side with Chris Rock on this. He's doing his professional job. He was up there to roast people, and he was doing his thing. Will Smith's done it before, and again, I guess the way I really equated it to is what we deal with here. I mean, somebody customer says a mean thing to you, you can't just go slap them in the face. So.
Okay, so you explained to me. So when I asked, and Chris Rock got a career in the UFC with that shit.
I agree, Ryan. That was quite a hit.
And he didn't stumble, he didn't fall, he didn't. But here's the thing. So DJ, you explained to me that Jada Pinkett Smith has what?
So I think according to it has a alopecia, makes your hair fall out.
Okay, so she has a disease, I guess, or an illness that makes her hair fall out. So I'm going to have to disagree with you on this because if a customer just calls you out because the customer is being a dick, then, I agree. But it would be like if you had dyslexia and you're trying to read a customer something and they know you have dyslexia, right? Because obviously, if it's public knowledge that what she has, and then he starts tearing into you because you have dyslexia.
Yeah.
To me, it's a different story. And only when you told me that, I was like, oh, well, yeah. I mean, and as much as it's a simple joke, like a G.I. Jane joke, it's what's going on in somebody else's life for them to make that joke. We never know. Like we have no idea what's going on behind closed doors with the two of them. And that could have been a trigger. So for me, I disagree with that. Chris Rock Amy Schumer roasted a ton of people, and it was hilarious.
Listen, I'm gonna have to disagree. When this is gonna be our first agree to disagree battle.
Yeah, I like these moments. This is what it's all about.
I'm with Ryan on this. Will Smith first. Will Smith money. He's got Will Smith money. Will Smith is dogged. I guarantee you, and I'm sure you're gonna see it at the end of the day. Will Smith dogging people for having mental handicap, being retarded. Sorry for using that word, mental retardation. Oh, yeah. Listen, comedians have been talking about, look, the Johnny Knoxville movie was about, mental retardation. Comedians go on there and they bring up situations all the time. They're up there talking about things. And again, like Ryan said, Will Smith's a comedian. He knows the game. Like, talk to him afterwards and say, "Hey, bro, that's kind of deep. Like, that's a, but he, if it was me or
Okay,
you
I
at
agree. I
if it was me
agree.
or you at the comedy, if it was me or you last night at the Emmys, we couldn't walk up on stage and smack him for saying that
Okay, so
about
I
our
I
wife.
agree with that he's a comedian, he should know. But would
So
you not also agree that when it comes to your wife, it takes on a different meaning?
of course,
Okay.
your family,
So
but
he's
yes,
messing with the loved
he,
ones, and
yes,
you're like, you
he
don't mess
went
with
to a
Mama
touchy
Bear because
subject, but
yeah,
again, it's
it is a very touchy subject.
before though he did call in that video. You'll notice he did go and talk about a husband and wife before that said, well, if she doesn't win, you can't win either. And again,
Yes.
he's talking on relationships. So I
Hmm.
know
And I think if he
it
was
might be a
talking
touchy subject.
relationships, it probably wouldn't have been. All I'm saying is
Yeah,
that subject is
that subject might be
probably
very touchy.
like
Yes.
very touchy. And
Yeah.
when you
but
like, I
it's
listen, I
just
agree with
words. But
comedians.
again,
It's
it's just
about
words.
disabilities.
It's but it's but it, and it's just words, and I think that's where our world has really
Yeah.
separated. It's just words. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
people could tell me my nose is too big. That's not going to change. I
Yeah.
mean, my nose is
My
big.
wife tells me that all the time.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it's just
About me,
words.
not you. About
But
me, not you, brother.
being able to go up there and actually slap somebody in the face because they said something, I think that's this.
It's next level. It's next
Well, and I
level.
think it just is pulling the curtain behind what's going on in the world today. If you don't agree with certain sides' way of saying things, you be careful.
Yeah, and it's a shame, but okay,
You
so
know what I'm saying. So yeah, let's
yeah,
get
yeah,
out
yeah,
of
yeah,
there. Let's
brother.
get
Let's move
out.
on. So Hayden says,
I was
"Morning,
looking
Jen.
for that too,
Morning,
Jeff. I
Hayden."
didn't see the red face, but yeah, you could
Yeah,
tell.
no, and it's tough to see because the video you sent me, anyways, it was tough to see because it was a little bit more back,
But
but
you could see the anger. You could feel that. You could feel the
oh, especially afterwards when he says, "Make sure
yeah
my wife's
yeah
name never comes out of your effing mouth," and
Kima yeah.
screams it at him, right?
When
Like,
you could see Chris Rock, even then, what told me the story at that video, and most videos don't cut off, but this video, Dan, um, that you have at the end, you see Chris Rock wants to say something. So he says, I will, yeah, I get it. But you see, he has a serious look to him, and he literally, right at the last second, says he wants to say something, kind of like he should really say something, but he held back. So I
yeah,
give him props for that because
yeah,
you could tell he was not happy.
he was not
So
happy. No, and he's on stage. So like,
yes,
and yeah, you
yeah,
could tell. You could tell. Ryan, I'll send you the video.
yeah.
Okay, are you ready,
All right.
DJ? Because we're getting in. Let's get into it.
Yeah. How
Mayhem
about the
Monday.
weekend? How was your weekend besides
It was
like
good, brother. It was good. It was like we had this freak snowstorm here yesterday. It was pouring rain on Saturday, and then like this freak snowstorm on Sunday.
we
So everything I wanted to get done, I didn't get done. But then I got
you
other things
too.
done, and it was like just it was odd, very very odd. So it was actually great because I started filming. So last week I decided to put actually I decided through the help of some people, and Lisa, you know who they are. We're talking about a new module. So I had a new module that I was going to release on Friday. And as I started filming, and then I filmed Friday, and I went, oh my God, or Wednesday last week, and I went, oh my gosh, that led into 3 other pieces of a module. So we have a seventh module coming out in Inception on Wednesday, that has 3 really cool pieces. So I did that for most of the weekend, just filmed, and kind of turned things over and wrote a few articles and stuff, and tried to make the most of it. I was planning on going outside and doing some work in the backyard, and then the freak snowstorm, like, yeah, that ain't happening. not happening at all. So it was supposed to be nice. What'd you get up to?
Oh man, it was honestly kind of the same. So Saturday, the flea market sucked because of the snow. We had the same thing: snow, cold. It was terrible here, and so
It
yeah,
should
weekend
start coming around though, right?
su-
So
Sun Sunday we just laid around because what else do you do on a crappy day? So
yeah, watch Netflix. All right,
yeah.
all right, brother. You
Let's
ready?
do it. What are we
All
talking
right.
about? Stop right there. Yes.
What
What
do
do
we
we
got?
got?
Driver-centric freight sales.
Yes.
Driver-centric freight sales. What a good one to talk about on a Monday
This
morning.
is such
So
a good one.
I know Jeff's gonna jump all over this like a fat kid on a Smartie, but so sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean to say that out loud. I apologize. I'm
I
sorry.
love
Bless them pygmies down there in New Guinea. So I've just totally pulled that from Larry the Cable Guy. So driver centric freight sales. So a couple of things I wrote down here was be focused on drivers, driver amenities, maps, night security, washrooms, cafeteria, wait times. Does this account have everything for my drivers to be successful?
it. Yes.
Mm.
That's
Okay, so I'll let you start, DJ. Throw it down.
well. I mean, I think this. I think this should go out without saying with anybody in this industry. The drivers are the key. Uh,
So let me
sales.
ask you a question.
We
When you first started, how long or have you ever? Because I know since we started the show, you're really not doing a lot of freight sales
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're focusing on the flea market.
yeah.
How long into your career, or had you ever actually focused on drivers when selling?
I'm so glad you said that. So that was really like my aha moment. So getting into this industry, I'll tell you, in getting into the industry, I had a close friend, Sean. Shout out, thanks for thanks for getting me in it. But you reached out and said, man, you would love this. I never did cold calling. I'm not a person who could just sit somewhere. I like to be in front of people, and so at first I blew him off. I'm like, no way, and then I got into it and I'm like, wow. But then I'm like, okay, I kind of started to feel like this guilt inside, honestly. It was really just me, but I felt this guilt inside like, okay, I just sit here and I'm making this money while these people are out there risking their lives. They're getting in accidents. They're dealing with all of these crazy things. They're going to, being, doing the drive van or doing food. The shippers receivers are not so nice sometimes. So seeing some of the signs that my drivers and some of the things that my drivers were dealing with, it's like, hold on, what is going on? Because I had that. It was kind of like the roles were finally flipped. So in home improvements, the sales guys are like they're just the shit talkers. They say all of this. They're just telling you all of that. They don't know anything. And it's the installers, and now it's and so I was like, whoa, the drivers are out there doing everything. Without them, most of the time it's the salespeople. Without a sale being made, it's not happening. But it doesn't matter how much freight I sell. If I don't have drivers out there doing it, it's not going anywhere. And so it was once that happened, it's like, oh man. So then it was like, what can I do? What can I do for them? So then it was just trying to give more and more and more because it just felt like it wasn't right. That was really what
Okay.
happened to me,
So,
actually.
but again, that's
So,
awesome, but
so,
you didn't answer the
so
question.
yeah, so literally, I would say so. I would say so. Maybe a year in. It was probably after my first
Oh
full
wow,
year. It's
good for
probably
you.
after my first full year because again, the brokerages I went to, the big brokerages, shout out Cassandra Gaines is calling out people for non-competes. I let over the weekend I let my words come out on that, so I apologize. But yeah, it was after the first year because I mean the brokerage houses that I worked at, it was sell freight. There was no make connections with drivers. They didn't teach you any industry knowledge that you really need to learn. A lot of brokerages don't. It's dial for dollars, call, tell them you got a truck, ghost post, and see what happens.
So, what
And
did
none of
you do to become more driver centric?
really just started reaching out to my connect. So obviously a year in, and once I really settled into my niche, which was dry van, just started making relationships with my main carriers who were the same ones who I kind of fell into place with anyways. And then once that happened, it was like, okay, whoa, this is even now I can help them, and that's where it all changed. Because then it was like now I'm on their team. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on their team with the carriers that are already working for me. I can help them. Oh, you guys are having issues here. Let me try to find somebody there for you.
Okay,
And
but
then
how did you
that's
become driver centric? Again,
uh,
I'm asking. I'm being very specific because we want to help people,
you're
but
talking
people
about the list.
understand we
Yeah,
need a
yeah, yeah.
relationship with our suppliers. That's nothing new. What I'm
No, no,
talking about is
no.
how did you
Relationship
sell
with the
driver centric?
I got you. Yeah, no. Really, not until honestly, not until Jeff talked about that list. He talked about the list. One of the first few shows we did, I started using that. That's when I really had changed to the driver-centric thing.
And were you still selling freight at that time?
Still selling freight, yeah.
Okay. So then just literally like 6 months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's all. That's
And
all we knew. That's all I knew prior to really
yeah, and that's the problem.
going through your training. That's where it was the opening. You know, the inception. I mean, I'm on this program because inception really is. I mean, we don't talk about it enough on the show, but I mean, it's not just logistics sales. It's it's the way sales should be done and should have been done the whole time.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So
I do, and we don't talk about it because really the show is not meant to sell
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
program, but I
yeah.
mean it's meant to help people. And I could say I started becoming driver centric when ELD hit, and as
Ah,
embarrassing as it
yes.
is, um,
Yeah.
it was like 26 years into my career by the
Mhm.
time, and I'd always been relationship centric, like, but not driver centric. And there's a big difference between
Big difference.
relationship
I
centric and
understand.
driver centric. And it was, I created reverse engineered logistics about 2015, started really doing that process.
Mhm.
And even in that process, it's evolved and kind of grown over the years because it's become more driver centric as opposed to relationship and carrier centric. So
Mhm.
again, big difference. Carrier centric, we move these lanes. You're focused on that carrier movement.
Yeah.
Driver centric, my drivers like X, Y, and Z. You start asking questions like, what kind of amenities do you have for drivers? When
Yeah.
drivers come in, what is it that they have to do? Do they get locked in a cage? And these are all questions that very, 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 very few people in our industry ask because it's about the sale. And the perspective is it's about moving the freight,
Yeah.
not about the human behind the wheel that moves the freight. And,
Exactly.
as we speak to Dean, and then I think Dean last week on Wednesday, um, he hit the nail on the head probably
Mm.
harder than I've ever seen it hit when he says, I just finished 1,000 miles. And he goes, and I'll tell you, like having your wits about you and every single thing that's happening, he goes, like, it is over exhausting. And he goes, and I used to do it all the
And
time.
that's what I was going to
And
say. And it's crazy to hear it come from him because that was his life. Like that
mhm.
was his life. And to hear him say that was like, whoa,
Well,
okay.
I look at it like this, and I don't know about anyone else, but I can say for me, when the pandemic hit in Ontario, we got locked down. And like we were locked down for a long time, right? And it was like nothing was open. It was literally like if you wanted something from Canadian Tire, everything had to be ordered online. It was curbside pickup, like no stores were open. It was only essential goods. So like you couldn't go buy customer of mine sold bed sheets and belts at Canadian Tire. You couldn't buy the bed sheets or belts for the longest time. Like that's when I say lockdown, that's how locked down we were. And I'll tell you, the first time I got in my car to drive downtown for a meeting, holy shit, anxiety hit me. And I've driven like I'm not an anxiety person. Like I'm like, whatever, man, it's all good. And I'll drive in any situation.
Yeah.
I'll like the tighter, the better, the stickier, the better. And it was like this total different feeling, DJ. And then, after about 4 times, it was good, right? Like it kind of goes back to normal. But when you don't do something for a while,
Yeah.
um, I can see that. But even today, I think, personally, from what I see on the road, drivers are worse. Like even this weekend, my wife and I were out and it's an 80-kilometer road. And this guy pulls out in front of me, literally like 60 feet in front of me doing 10. And like I slam on to the point where my ABS are locking up and I'm like laying into the horn and
Mm.
my wife's holding the dashboard and it's just brain dead, like brain fart. I've had snowmobiles pull right out in front of me at 80K. Like I've had this conversation with my son many times where he's
Holy
like, Dad, why
cow.
do people do it? I go, sometimes people just have brain farts, but it's tough not to get angry, right? So for
Mhm.
me, that whole driver centric where I really started to focus on drivers was probably 2018 and on. And I left the industry at middle 2019. So, like you, I did it for the first probably 12 to 15 months of my career in
Yeah.
that corporate side of sales.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed about it.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
really am
Oh,
because the driver centric, like what kind of amenities do they have?
that's the
And
next
I
level. Yeah.
remember,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
did you ever see that video where it was like a burly truck driver, and he had like the big beard, and he was doing a selfie video. And he says, like you guys say we're on the front lines, and you say this and that, and he goes, and look
I
at this
see that.
line, and he goes, and I'm not allowed to go into this food company and take a pee, and
Yes.
and if I piss on the grass, then security comes over and gives me a ticket, and it's like, it's and to me that should be the starting place. It really should. And again, I'm totally embarrassed, and I'll admit it, like without a shadow of a doubt. Like we're talking the last 16 months of my career. It took me 20 something years to realize who really butters your bread.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the greatest points is you think your customers butter your bread? They don't. It's the driver. Because without drivers, nothing happens.
Well, but
They say nothing happens till the sale's made. That's bullshit. Nothing happens till the driver decides to get in that job. And as an industry, we're garbage at advertising to drivers.
mm-hmm. But and to your point about the guy with the video sharing, I mean, this is just like it's just so basic. Like it's a
Yeah.
human. They're a human. Like why? How can somebody who's behind there say no? You can't pee in here. You can't do this. You can't do that. That's another person. Like it's just
And like you have COVID and you have all these other issues, but there was issues with drivers before that.
oh
And
yeah.
actually, you know
This
what?
happened prior to COVID. This I mean, so I got into it. Just with, shout out to John and those guys and PJ over at Tales from the Freight Side, but was talking to them about got into this. I like the word. I mean, I've got into this when ELDs basically like 6 months before ELDs started. So I got into this and heard ELD, and I don't even know what they're talking about at that time. Then had to learn real quick, like, oh, this game's totally
Mhm.
changing, and I'm just new to it. So yeah,
Mhm.
crazy.
Well, I could tell you when I moved from Quebec to Ontario and started an asset based company, the owners said you got to get your license because we're going to go on a trip. And I'll tell you, I've never been treated like that in my life, ever, ever. And I can't. I mean, if there's any drivers watching and listening, tell us how it is now because
Yeah,
we're talking back in 2003 and four, so a while ago. But I mean, it was disgusting. Like disgusting. I mean, watching customs agent pick up somebody's passport by the corner and spray it with
that's
Lysol. And it just garbage. Like being treated like dirt at like,
yeah, like it's a
I'll call
human
it
being.
out. I went to a FedEx facility in Ohio and I got treated like a sack of garbage. And we went down into Youngstown, Ohio, and loaded steel, and we loaded like we were all over the place. Tennessee, we were, and everybody just treated drivers like a second rate individual. And thing is, maybe I wasn't a driver. Like I'm used to, at that point in my career, I was
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
walking into
you're sick.
buildings in a suit and tie, and somebody going, "Hey, can I help you?" Like in 2 seconds, and you
Yeah,
walk in a driver's door, and
isn't that sad though? Just because of how you look and who they
sad,
think you are,
horrible,
how you look, who they think you are.
disgusting, beyond sad. It's disgusting. It was now again. I haven't been on the road in
Yeah,
almost 2 decades. Okay, so this is not like I wasn't on a trip last week. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
hopefully that's changed. I don't know if
Hopefully,
it
hopefully.
has. You know, but it's to be driver centric. And what we mean by that, you know, we want the drivers to be successful. Drivers are restricted in 99 different ways. We talked about it last week where, if they're limited and other companies aren't, and how far they can get ahead in the hours that they drive and everything. So like dwell times, amenities, all these things, security, like all these things are so important. I remember I was having a call. So I had one of my students owns a trucking company in Georgia, and I was on a call with him, and he's talking to me, and his immediately goes, "What? Give me a second. Give me a second." He goes, "What the hell are those?" There was like two hooded guys walking around his truck, and he's like, "Give me a second." And he goes up and he grabs like a 9 millimeter from the top of the thing. He's like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're kidding me? That really happens?" He goes, "Oh yeah, dude." He goes, "You wouldn't believe it. Like you wouldn't believe what we have to deal with." And I'm
That's
like,
crazy. And
"Holy
that's
crap!" Like
crazy. And these are the people.
crazy.
These are the people making everything. I mean, they're the only reason this book is here right now. They're the only
Mhm.
reason this book, this TV. I mean, everything in your room. They're the only reason they're here.
Mhm. So I know we're kind of revolving with a bunch of stories here, but driver centric
Driver
again.
centric is
Night security, washrooms, cafeteria, wait
yes.
times, right? We've had this conversation many times as a salesperson. How long do drivers have to wait realistically? And ask the questions, because that will determine a lot with the numbers. What kind of amenities do they have? And here's what I believe. And by all means, if any salesperson out there is doing this, share with us. I
Mm,
believe if we go to our suppliers, our relations, people we want to build the relationship, we say, listen, here's the situation. So here's the lane it is. Here's what they're looking at paying. We're on average, I've asked, on average, they're about 45 minutes in and out. They've got amenities for your drivers. They've got a cafeteria. Your driver can have a snack, so he doesn't have to worry about, doing the truck stop thing or whatever. They've got security. So if you want to come in early, you can come in early, and you start going through, the washrooms, the
yeah.
driver lounge, this and that a company has. And I believe wholeheartedly, and by all means, anyone who doesn't, share, you'll
Please.
probably get that truck over the next guy that just says, hey, I got a load from A to B.
Yeah.
I do believe. And I believe if I've always believed if you take care of the customer's customer, you always win. And who's the ultimate customer in all of this? It's the driver.
Well, I think Nigel, Nigel said it. If you expect people to look after you, this is a two-way street.
Gosh, we have a ton of comments.
Yeah, we got a ton of
So,
comments.
okay, let's go through these a little bit. You're absolutely right. Two-way street. 91 in Dallas yesterday, Hayden. Man,
Jealous.
if I
You
was
got a
allowed to
place down
swear,
there?
I'd swear at you right now. Nigel says, if you expect people to look after you, it's a 100%. Kenneth says, I bring coffee and my donuts to my drivers if they're in my area. 100%. I think it's great.
Anything you
And
could do.
that's
Anything.
awesome. That's awesome. I think that's great. Jeff says, Nigel Baldwin, you get a boom. Oh, we're bringing out the booms.
Read out the boom.
Focusing on becoming. Jeff says, I've been a driver centric for decades because you have to take care of the people who take care of you and your company. I can go into detail, but this is logical, and why people don't do it is baffling. I agree.
Agree
I agree.
100%, Jeff.
I agree. ELD stands especially for lengthy drive because there's no tampering, allowing 100%.
Uh,
All jokes aside, the drivers are GI Janes of the proverbial logistics Oscars. Too soon. No, I don't think it is, Nerfad.
let's
You're
do it. I
good,
like it.
brother. You're golden. We should be driver centric for sure.
Absolutely.
Lisa says, when a customer picks up a new lane that has very poor driver conditions, what strategy have you seen work best to improve these conditions? Great
Mm,
question, Lisa.
that is a
Um,
very good
do
question.
you want to take that first, DJ? Or
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, so Lisa, my suggestion on that would be you have conversations with the drivers on lanes that you have never done before. And just say, even to dispatch, hey, listen, I just want to talk to the driver, because some companies don't really want you talking to the drivers or calling them because they think you're just going to call them all the time. Say, hey, listen, it's very important I speak to the driver because I want to know what it's like in there and what's going on with them. If it's bad, I would call the customer and I would say, listen, here's the situation. This is what's happened. It's
Mhm.
only our first load, but this is what's happened. So the way this revolves and works is, if these things keep happening, the carriers typically want more money. Because as you can imagine, if they sit there for 2.5 hours, or if they have no amenities, or there's nothing, it could complicate the rates. And, I wanted to keep you in the loop, because if these drivers don't want to go in there, this freight's not going to be moved. And you know what? You've given me this new lane for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it go back to the other person that might be causing you problems. And I want to make sure we solve every single issue or challenge you've had. So this can be just another passing in the wind, and we can move on to bigger and better things. But it starts with the driver. And
I,
now,
I agree.
with that
I
being
agree.
said, just understand there's going to be people that are grumpy no matter what. And there's going to be,
Yeah.
so maybe if you
Reach
get
out to a few.
results from, you get results from the first one, maybe wait for the second one, maybe wait for the third one. And after kind of 3 or 4, say, hey, FYI, here's what's coming back from the drivers.
Yeah.
They're being treated like dirt when they get to the dock and da-da-da. So can we have a conversation? Because they are the biggest asset globally in this market right now. Like,
Yes.
it's the reality. What would you say?
I love it. No,
What would you say,
I
DJ?
agree. I agree with exactly what you said. Start with the driver. I mean, that's the one thing the switch that really clicked was. I mean, these drivers know. I mean, these drivers go and have been everywhere. They know what to avoid and where not to go, or what the problem is with that lane or that receiver or that place. So yeah, start with the drivers. They know,
Mm-hmm.
and if
Well,
they
and
don't know, they
also, so
talk.
here's the secondary thing is if you go to a company and you say, hey, listen, I spoke to your drivers. These are the issues that, and this is the thing, right? Relay this information back. It's like
Mm,
if a colleague of yours or somebody you know connects you with somebody, you always connect back with that colleague. Hey, I connected with DJ. Thank you so much for introducing us. Right? It's just courtesy. So if
yep.
you speak to the driver, the courteous thing would be, hey, I spoke to your driver. This is some of the challenges. I'm going to work on it with this client and I'll get back to you. And then you get back to the dispatcher, you get back to the operations manager, and you let them know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily call the driver back at that point because you don't know when that next driver is going to be in there. But you call the dispatch back and say, listen, I've spoken to them and da-da-da. So the next time your driver goes in, can you please tell them to pay attention to this, this, and this, and let's see if they're doing what they say they're going to do. And that to me would be that follow-up. Now that to me would solidify the relationship more than giving somebody business. Because
Yeah.
giving somebody business,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, and especially in
Yes.
today's day and age, right? If you have trucks, if you have rolling steel, and somebody's like, oh, yeah, I want to give you all this business. You're like, of course you do, because capacity is tight. But
Yeah.
that would be a step way above what anyone else would do. And in any market would say to somebody, hey, wow, we just found somebody that actually really cares about our employees.
Cares about
And
the
when you're
driver.
taking care of their customers, which is their drivers, I think you've got a winning formula.
Agreed.
Right. So Nigel says, Jeff, it's not baffling. It's ignorance, which shouldn't be allowed. Weak management and culture. And then
Nailed it. That's
Jeff says,
another boom,
DJ still have
Nigel.
not received royalties on that checklist to help you build relationships. Laugh my ass off. Glad it's
Thank you,
working.
Jeff.
Yeah. So, geez, we're 30 minutes already. All right, DJ.
We are.
What do we got to pull us out of here, brother?
All right. Well, hey, thank you guys all again for joining us every day and every week, starting your day right with us. Again, Sales Chatter Live. If you are watching this on the replay or watching this live on our Sales Channel Live channel on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you can get notified when we pop up live again. Thank you to American Logistics, Centurion Trucking. Thank you guys for everybody who's watching and all your comments. This week we got another good week, so don't miss it. Tuesday, Thursday, we got some good guests. Obviously, Wednesday is going to be always a blast. So, and is Mark back with us Friday?
Mark's back with us this Friday. Every second Friday, Mr. Ridley's coming.
Listen, we got a fun-filled week, guys. Mm-hmm. We're gonna make this week and finish this month again. This is the last month too, or the last week for the first quarter, guys. So keep that in mind.
Month end and quarter end this week.
Yes,
sir.
Exactly. So big week. Quote for today is: "A good life is when you assume nothing, do more, need less, smile often, dream big, laugh a lot, and realize how blessed you are." You're all blessed. Just realize.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.